Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are looking at another devblog for the next update, and this is for a vehicle that wasn't really on the dev server. It is the Harrier GR.7. This is going to be a high-ranking strike aircraft for Britain. It's going to be at rank 7, mainly down to the wonderful armament that it has, but also some of its extra systems. The Harrier GR.7 is of course a further development of the Harrier series, a few that we've already seen in game when it comes to the American tech tree and also the British tech tree. I'm sure a lot of people are going to look forward to this since top tier Britain hasn't had really any new additions for quite a while now. So now it's time to bring the thunder. As always, let's have a look at the history of this vehicle. As the first generation Harriers were entering service, operational experiences highlighted the need for a potentially more capable aircraft. Therefore, both the McDonnell Douglas and Hawker Siddeley companies began work on an aircraft. However, as Hawker Siddeley soon backed out of the project, McDonnell Douglas continued working on a less advanced version, eventually leading to the AVA-B. In 1978, the US government permitted further development only if another major foreign buyer would join the project, and since Britain was already looking to upgrade their Harriers, the British Aerospace Company joined the project and revived the joint venture. The Harrier II, as known in British service, differed from the American AVA-B primarily in the new wing design, but it also featured different avionics and armament. The first prototype of the British version, known as the Harrier GR.5, undertook its maiden flight in April 1985, with production series aircraft entering service in 1987. While the Harrier GR.5 was still in development, a new variant more suited for nighttime operations was being worked on. The result of this was the Harrier GR.7, which first took to the skies in May of 1990 and subsequently entered service in August. After entering service, the Harrier II had a prolific service career with both the RAF as well as the Royal Navy. The aircraft flew countless sorties during the Balkan and Iraq wars and also participated in military operations in Kosovo and Afghanistan in the late 1990s and early 2000s. So looking at the Harrier GR.7, they've basically taken what the Harrier was and just improved it in every single way. There's not really anything on this aircraft which is worse than the previous ones. Maybe you could say the gun armament is not the best, but it is definitely made up for when it comes to all of its other parts. One of the big increases in it is that it has a better engine. It's got the Rolls-Royce Pegasus Mark 105, and this means that it can get to a top speed of nearly 1100 kilometers an hour at sea level. So it's going to be a little bit faster, but not really. The main thing which is quite nice of it is because of its aerodynamic design, it's going to handle a little bit better. One of the problems I found with the lower Harriers is the way that the elevator interacts with the ailerons is it doesn't always pull itself around, especially at specific speeds. So I'm hoping the GR.7 will be a little bit better than that. That would be kind of nice to see. Obviously, we'll have to see if that's the case or not. It might not be. It might still have that weird drag that it does at kind of mid speeds, but hopefully not. The overall thing about it, though, is that the acceleration is going to be really good on this thing, just like it is on the other Harriers, so you'll be able to get into position pretty quickly. And the question is, will you be able to actually take advantage of that position that you find yourself in? And since this thing has a ridiculous amount of ordnance on it, I think the answer is going to be yes. So, already talked about the fact this thing will be fitted with a pair of 25mm Aden cannons with 200 rounds of ammunition available per gun. So there's a ton of ammo on the 25mm, which is quite nice. And they also make a mention of the GR.7 having nearly double the payload of the GR.3. So what it'll have access to is it'll have AGM-65 Mavericks, it'll have access to 500,000, 2,000 pound bombs, it'll also get paveways, so the guided bombs as well, and of course Sidewinders. Now I'm pretty sure this thing's going to get AIM-9Ls. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't get AIM-9Ls. If you don't know what they are, those are the all-aspect missiles. Now what's kind of interesting about them, so I've been playing a lot of BRs with AIM-9Ls and also with AIM-9Gs and all of the other AIM-9s, the R60s as well, and the Magics. It's kind of interesting the difference how each of the missiles kind of interact. So the AIM-9L and the AIM-9G are kind of similar in a way, where they have quite a decent like spool up time, where once they're fired, it takes them a little bit of time to actually get going, but once they get going, they can go very far and turn very well. But if you're close to the target, the AIM-9Ls can usually sometimes miss because they don't have enough power burning behind them, especially in vehicles which are slower than some of their counterparts. You know, the A-10 has this issue, stuff like the Harriers themselves can have this issue as well if they're going against faster targets with the AIM-9Gs. The F-104 ASA doesn't have this issue, so, you know, generally the missiles come off the rail pretty quickly. So the faster a machine is and the faster they're using stuff like an AIM-9L, usually the less time it takes the AIM-9L to get up to speed and then start tracking. Whereas something like an R60 or a Magic, they track after like half a second and they just go, and they're insanely good to use in like dogfighting scenarios, whereas the AIM-9Ls are much more kind of maybe a little bit longer where you want to hit them from. So for something like the GR7, I think they'll work pretty well, since I don't see this as something which is going to be a dogfighter, especially since now we have a lot of Delta Wing aircraft at the higher tiers, which this thing's going to find itself at, which are very good at that kind of setup, you know, with the countermeasures and flares, you know, stuff like the Viggen, for example. The Tomcat's pretty good at it. The MiG-23 is okay at it. Stuff like the other Doritos, like the Kafir, is insanely good at the whole dogfighting thing and also gaining energy to be able to push around it. And the GR7 won't really be able to compete. You'll basically just have to do what you do in the other Harrier, where if somebody jumps on you, you're going to have to try and slow them down as much as possible and then change the VTOL and then go after them, which is a really fun thing you can do in these vehicles. It's one of the only vehicles that it's available for. And hopefully with the GR7 coming in, hopefully America will also get their version, or they'll get, you know, their similar vehicle that they could see at some point. So we can see across the place different kind of weaponry, but also a little bit of fun as well. These vehicles are super fun. The General GR7 will be a very nice vehicle because it will be able to get itself into a good position quickly. I still don't really believe the acceleration on stuff like the Harriers in the game is correct, because of the fact that they accelerate way better than everything else. And then whenever people say that I'm wrong or whatever, that's fine. I could be completely wrong on this. But how about the AK-38? Because the AK-38's a brick, and that also out-accelerates the vast majority of vehicles in the game. So there's something weird how the VTOLs interact with the game and the way that kind of Gadget models the whole acceleration thing to get them off the ground. Because they are nuts fast compared to all the other things. But this will have use in air battles, this will have use in ground battles, and it's also just nice to see something for Britain at the high tiers, which we haven't seen in a long time. A new vehicle which gives a different playstyle. A lot of people were complaining about the fact that the Phantoms have been the top dog for the longest time. They're still probably going to be the top dog, but at least the GR7 offers you a different playstyle. It offers you something different to have a bit of fun with. And also, if it comes after the Jaguars, it'll mean that they're easier to research, which will be fantastic because they're really fun vehicles, apart from the first one. But the French one's really fun, it's just hard to research through, and the GR1A is fun, but it's also really hard to research through. So anything that makes those easier, I'll be in favor of. But I'm really looking forward to this one. Really nice to see. Hopefully other people enjoy it too. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R, Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.